In the small, peaceful village of Green Hollow, the days were calm and the nights were quiet. The village, surrounded by tall trees and vast fields, seemed to be untouched by the modern world. The people lived simply, working the land and living close to nature. But there was something unsettling about the forest that stretched beyond the village, something that made the villagers uneasy. No one ventured deep into the woods unless absolutely necessary. Over the years, there had been whispers about strange happenings, disappearances, unexplained noises, and a sense of foreboding that seemed to settle over the village whenever the wind blew through the trees. Lady Eliza Rivers was the most intriguing and beautiful woman in the village. At just 22 years old, she was admired by all who saw her, though she rarely paid attention to the attention she received. Her long, golden hair shimmered like the sunlight on the river, and her eyes, a deep shade of green, seemed to hold a secret that no one could uncover. Her beauty was enchanting, but it was her mysterious air that captivated the villagers the most. Eliza's father, Samuel Rivers, was a retired soldier who now lived a quiet life in the village. He had once been a strong, imposing man, but the years had softened him, and he now spent most of his time on the front porch of their small cottage, reflecting on his past. Eliza, on the other hand, was a woman of mystery, often seen walking alone near the edge of the forest. She would disappear into the trees at night, and the villagers couldn't help but wonder why. Some believed she was searching for something, while others thought she might be hiding from something. Captain Harold Gray had recently returned to the village after many years of fighting in battles far away. He had seen many things in his life, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of Lady Eliza. She was unlike any woman he had ever met. Her beauty was striking, but it was her presence that made him pause. There was something about her, something that drew him in and made him want to know more. Harold had spent many days in the village, and every time he saw Eliza, he felt an inexplicable pull. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Harold was walking through the village when he saw her again. Eliza was standing at the edge of the forest, staring into the distance, as though she was waiting for something. Her white dress fluttered in the breeze, and her long hair cascaded over her shoulders like a waterfall of gold. Unable to resist, Harold approached her cautiously. "Lady Eliza," he said, his voice soft but firm. She turned slowly, her eyes meeting his with a calm yet piercing gaze. "Captain Gray," she replied, her voice as smooth as silk. "I didn't expect to see you here." Harold smiled, feeling a strange sense of connection to her. "I often walk this path," he said, his eyes lingering on her for a moment too long. "It seems the forest has a way of drawing people in." Eliza's lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. Yes, it does. But I've always felt something else here, something I cannot explain. Harold was intrigued. There was a sadness in her eyes, a longing that he couldn't quite understand. "The forest is dangerous," he said, his tone turning serious. "Many people have disappeared into those woods and never returned." Eliza glanced toward the trees, her eyes distant. "I know, but there's something I need to find, something important." She turned back to him. "I know the risks, Captain, but I cannot stop now." Harold felt a knot form in his stomach. He didn't know why, but he felt the need to protect her. "If you ever need help, Lady Eliza, I'll be here." The next evening, as the full moon bathed the village in a soft, silvery light, Eliza once again found herself walking toward the forest. She had a map in her possession, a map that her mother had given her before she died. Her mother had always told her that the forest held secrets, secrets that only Eliza could uncover. But as much as Eliza had tried to ignore it, something inside her told her that the time had come to face whatever lay hidden in the depths of the trees. As Eliza walked, she felt the familiar pull of the forest. The night was still, and the only sound was the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. She was almost to the edge of the forest when she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, she saw Captain Harold Gray following her. "You shouldn't be out here alone," Harold said, his voice full of concern. Eliza didn't answer right away. Instead, she stared at him, her gaze piercing and intense. She was not afraid of him, but she could sense his concern. "I need to go, Captain," she said quietly. "I have to find something." Harold stepped closer, his eyes softening as he looked at her. "Let me come with you. The forest is no place for someone like you." Eliza hesitated, her heart racing. She didn't want to admit it, but there was something about Harold that made her feel safe. "I'll be fine," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "But thank you." Harold studied her for a moment, then nodded. "If you change your mind, I'll be right behind you." Eliza smiled faintly, grateful for his offer. As she turned back to the path that led into the forest, Harold stood still, watching her with a sense of unease. He didn't know what it was, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Eliza was walking toward something she couldn't escape. The following day, after her late night adventure, Eliza returned to the village with a sense of purpose. She was determined to find whatever secrets the forest held, but there was a part of her that knew the path would not be easy. She had been warned countless times by the villagers, but it was her mother's dying words that echoed in her mind. Martha Hale, the village innkeeper, was one of the few who understood Eliza's connection to the forest. She had known Eliza's mother, a woman of great wisdom, and she had always cautioned Eliza about the dangers that lay beyond the trees. "Eliza, you must listen to me," Martha said, her voice urgent as they sat in the warm, cozy inn. "The forest has taken too many lives already. It's not just a place of mystery. It's a place of danger. You don't know what you're dealing with." Eliza sat across from her, her fingers lightly tracing the edge of her teacup. "I know, Martha, but my mother spoke of the forest often. She said that it holds something of great importance to our family, something I need to understand." Martha shook her head, her eyes filled with concern. "I understand your need to know, but sometimes, Eliza, it's better not to seek out what's hidden. There are things that no one is meant to find." But Eliza's mind was made up. She couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was calling her, that it held the answers she needed to uncover the truth about her mother's past. The days following Eliza's conversation with Martha were filled with unease. The village seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. It wasn't long before they got the news that Thomas Reeve, a young hunter, had gone missing. He had gone into the forest early in the morning, but by nightfall there was no sign of him. Captain Harold Gray, along with a group of villagers, ventured deep into the woods to search for Thomas. The forest seemed to close in around them, its dense trees and thick underbrush making it difficult to see more than a few feet in front of them. Despite hours of searching, they found no trace of Thomas. Eliza, hearing of the search, couldn't shake the fear that gripped her. She had seen the look in Harold's eyes when he returned, the fear of the unknown, the realization that something was terribly wrong. She knew that whatever was in the forest had claimed another life, and she couldn't help but wonder if she would be next. Now from this point, the story will be continued in the next part.